Wilderness Watch is a national wilderness conservation organization that's based in Missoula, Montana. The focus of Wilderness Watch has primarily been not to pass bills in Congress to designate new wildernesses, but primarily to ensure that the wildernesses that have been designated are kept protected and as fully as they can be under the 1964 Wilderness Act. There is confusion between a national park and a wilderness area. In the case of Isle Royale, 99% of Isle Royale is both a national park and a wilderness. The importance for the wilderness distinction is that it provides the most permanent level of protection our country is capable of giving to federal public lands with that wilderness designation. An area over time can lose its wild character if it doesn't have that permanent wilderness protection. The Wilderness Act passed in 1964. It had been under debate for 8 years, first introduced in Congress in 1956. And the Wilderness Act provides an extra layer of protection on other existing federal public lands. Wilderness designation can occur in the national forests, in the national parks, on land managed by the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, as well as on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service wildlife refuges. So each of those 4 federal agencies stewards wildernesses that Congress has designated. It is kind of the gold standard for public land protection, this wilderness designation. And it provides this extra layer of protection, as I mentioned, but it also restricts the federal agencies on what they can do, and that's by intent. Our society in general is one of doing things and managing and doing lots of hands-on, and what the Wilderness Act directs us to do with these lands that are designated is to treat them with restraint and humility, and to not be manipulating them like we so often want to do. Wilderness Watch has always believed that the appropriate role for the wolf project on Isle Royale is to let the wolves decide. One of the things that we have discovered in the last 60 years of the wolf study out there is that Isle Royale really is too small to have an ongoing biologically diverse and genetically diverse wolf population. That's unfortunately one of the things we have learned. We've also seen over the years wolves escaping Isle Royale for the mainland. We saw that just this last February with one of the captured wolves that was exiled out there on Isle Royale, and it escaped on the ice bridge back to freedom on the mainland. So we believe that if the wolves want to be there, we should let them make that decision. We believe that it flies in the face of the humility and restraint that the Wilderness Act directs us to use on this issue to, capture wolves from other places, pull them out of their family packs, sanitize them, deworm them, fly them out to Isle Royale, put radio collars on them and ear tags so that every step they take for the rest of their lives, they're going to be tracked. It's not a wild wolf population when that happens. We have had 4 of the last 6 winters, we have had ice bridges out to Isle Royale. In 2015, I think it was in February of 2015, there were a couple of collared wolves from the mainland that came out to Isle Royale over the ice, hung around for a few days, and then skedaddled back to the mainland to avoid getting stuck out there. So we believe that there are still ice bridges that do occur, and that we should let the wolves decide if they want to be there or not, and that we should not be doing this heavy-handed manipulation of the wilderness character of Isle Royale just to satisfy some of the visitors to Isle Royale who want to hear a wolf howl. So my fear is that the Isle Royale wolf experiment is going to set a really bad national precedent that will make it easier for at least the National Park Service, if not all four federal agencies, to manipulate the wildness out of wilderness across the country. Without wolves and wolf predation on the island, we're likely to see the moose population increase. But that's happened in the past, before the wolves were established. You know, wolves are very recent migrants out there. They've only been out there since about 1948 or 49. The moose have been there a little longer, but they also are recent arrivals, really, in the 20th century. Prior to the 1920s or so, the main predator-prey dynamic out there was woodland caribou and Canada lynx. And that dynamic had existed for a long time. So both the moose and the wolf populations are really quite recent. And one of the things is that with a changing climate, we cannot everywhere we want to force those natural areas to remain the same, and to continue to try to recreate conditions as they might have been, you know, in 1950, for example, is a losing battle long term. If the moose population does jump up, you know, that again has happened before, and then there was a die-off of the moose population without denuding the whole island, as is being fear-mongered now. And the moose population will reach some sort of equilibrium point. We don't know exactly what that point will be. I doubt that the entire island is going to be denuded by the moose if there are no wolves. But you know, again, we humans don't know everything about this, and we're not nearly as clever and smart as we like to think we are. And we should not be forcing our choices onto that ecosystem. We should let the wilderness make those decisions. Wilderness would look like these natural areas functioning through their own ecological and evolutionary cycles without the influence and manipulation by humans. That might mean at times that wildfires would burn. It might mean at times that, in the case of Isle Royale and other islands, that you know, island biogeography kind of dictates that species come and species go on islands. It might mean that the wolves would blink out on Isle Royale at some point. It might mean the moose blink out on Isle Royale at some point. But they would do so on nature's terms and not on the human-dominated manipulation that we like to impose. More human intervention is not the answer to previous human intervention. That if we want an area to be wild, we need to resist the really strong impulses that our species has to manipulate and allow these areas to grow and develop and evolve on their own without our choices, without our dictates imposed on these areas.